For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Telling you guys a bit of a review video on kind of a brand slash the updated tent from Zempire. So with me here today, I've got the brand new Zempire Aero Pro TXL V2. So basically Zempire's Aero collection sort of sits at almost their sort of towards the top of their range, certainly for the UK market, or should I say middle of the range, but when you compare it to a lot of other people's specs, we're looking at quite a high specification, pretty much above and beyond what you can get from another brand in polyester. With the Aero itself comes in available in two main sizes. We've got the TXL, which got me here, which is more of a true 6, or a TL, which is more of a sort of 5 berth, and we've done a separate video for that as well, so you're always welcome to check that out. This being the brand new V2 version, i.e. version 2, there's been some monumental updates really for the new season, and a lot of talking points which will go through this video. One thing that certainly is quite apparent is generally that it looks a little bit different. So we've still got a kind of a free zone tent with a 6-person sleeping capacity and big ample living area, but the front section now is almost open. So what the kind of Zempire have done is sort of carried on the sort of theme of their Evo collection with that open front and have the ability to actually enclose it as you want to. The benefit of this actually makes that whole space a lot more usable and open now, and because it's almost in 2 parts, you buy it additionally, you still get the same sort of enclosure space as you would if it was built on, but it helps to reduce the weight down so you have a pack size that's a little bit smaller, and it helps the main tent weigh a little bit less as well. We've got still Zempire's ridiculously spec'd sort of ripstop material, so it's a really nice strong about sort of a 210D material, ripstop running throughout it, and a stupid waterproof rating of 8,000mm hydrostatic head. So it's actually about 2,000 less than its previous model, or version I should say, of it. But what they've done is actually you've done a different kind of treatment to the actual fabric itself, so it's going to retain a lot more colour throughout its lifespan. So again, it's kind of more of a, has a high resilience to sort of UV and fading, so it's a real nice update for the new season. One of probably the biggest updates that we'll see with the new Aero V2 is the fact we now move to a single point inflation. So one single point located here pumps up the whole tent, and you can see our own Attwoolls pitching packing video. I pitched this tent on my own. I think it was on reason about 15 minutes with an inflatable pump, but quite literally all I did was use electric pump, which you can buy additionally. Press the button, sit back, relax, let it pump it up to there. All then you have to do is go inside and peg it out and you're good to go. A manual pump does come supplied as standard with the tent. If I'm being honest with you, I probably personally wouldn't want to use it to pump the whole thing up, just because it would take an awful lot of physical volume from one point. It can be done, and actually even though it's single point inflation and you've got multiple deflation points, so at the bottom of every single beam is an outlet to get the air out quite nice and easily, as you can see from my little video. Zempire are supplying an adapter which will allow you to pump up each beam individually. This is, God forbid, there is an issue with a single inflation point, and you can then still pitch your tent without having to worry about that. So it's quite a nice little backup, and then for sure I would definitely use the manual pump for that, and always have it as a backup if you really wanted to. What also is a big kind of change, also with that sort of more open front, is they've played around with the height quite a bit. So what we've got now is the front beam is a lot taller, so actually for me it makes it a physical, more usable space. So I can stand up underneath here quite happily. It actually means the sort of cooking area tends to be more of a cooking area. With the open front, there is what they call a wall kit you can add onto the front of it, and that consists of a normal sort of window material, so that's your sort of complete weather tight section, a full mesh section as well, and also some king pole so you can go wing out. So to give you a bit of an idea, when you have the normal sort of tinted window front on it, it'll look something like this. Whereas if you have the mesh on it, it'll look something like this. And of course you can use both in conjunction with one another, so the mesh and then essentially the main kind of door with the gull wings, and look something like this. So what Zempire have actually done is they've actually increased kind of the versatility of what you can do with the front. Having that mesh sort of front bug-free barrier, and obviously combined with the two side mesh doors as well, you don't have to worry about the flies coming directly in when you have a light up at the end of a night. And plus it gives you the versatility on a nice day like today, when maybe you don't want to enclose yourself, have it open. You can still obviously go in and out if you wanted to, and because you can also use both panels in conjunction with another, you've got, like I said, ultimate amount of flexibility to create the home away from home you want to. Naturally, as you expect, Zempire still, it's all the fine details that really do make a difference. So what we've got here is kind of webbing straps on every single point, and you get obviously a good amount of tension with it, supplied with a really nice a thick round steel O-ring. So again, all about for sort of durability. And again, when you also come from the packing points, webbing straps and tension points with, again, two O-rings like you would with sort of sailing bags. Again, it's all about building it and quality. Small touches like the little guy line runners, really nice metal gold kind of coloured. That makes it very nice, simple to do. And with the newest single fasciation point, what you do find is very easy to get it looking absolutely sharp. Reason being is because you've then got beams running directly through the roof, so you actually gain a bit more strength in comparison to its predecessor, but also it doesn't take an expert to make it look really, really nice. Sky windows is also a new feature we can see in the Aero as well. And we still, as you come and know and love with Zempire, is you've got every panel's got some sort of ventilation point in it. Naturally, being more of a New Zealand brand, it's designed for kind of hotter summers than the UK, and then colder winters, so you get the best of both worlds. You can have breathability, but also privacy at the same time. And they've dialed back a little bit on the tinted windows a touch, just to sort of make it not so as contrasting with a slightly lighter fabric. Really nice, quite high footer you see here. And one thing that probably is testament to kind of Zempire's attention to detail is how the this little kind of point here actually increases in size, and it swoops up sort of with the panel as well. It's all part of a design aspect. Now, to do something like that, it takes a lot more kind of accuracy when it comes to obviously all of it's handmade. But to kind of get that point in, it's gonna, I suppose, it's a testament to how much detail kind of Zempire really do go down to and what they want. We mentioned earlier about kind of packing it away. You do get a nice sized over storage bag with there, and you've got two really strong carry handles nice and neatly in there. You can, of course, look to upgrade the bag. It's not something that Zempire do, but it's something we do sell ourselves. If you want something more of a roller bag with wheels and a base, which coincidentally comes as standard when you move to the TC. So what we have here is the polyester version. You can, if you want to, buy the polycotton version, or technical cotton, depends on what you want to call it, if you want that bit more element of breathability. We've got a rain safe door here quite nice and neatly, so when it's raining, water can come down here, come off the sides, not have to go into the main living area. You've got a mesh door on both sides, which allows you also to have that airflow in the tent even when the weather might be a bit intermittent. Low level ventilation, located down the bottom here, again helps to increase airflow. Certainly when it comes to the bedroom, where you're going to find that condensation, well, you're obviously producing more moisture, so naturally you want that circulation of air to sort of fight that for sure. Cable entry point located on this side, and also we've got one on the opposite side as well, so it doesn't matter which side your kind of electrics come into, you can more than happily kind of, you know, accommodate it. Not only with the sliders, we've also got high visibility guidelines as well to hopefully, you know, not create a sort of trip hazard. And generally what I find as well, the pegs at Zempire Supply Standard are pretty decent, and not many other brands will kind of give you that level of pegs itself. But I'll tell you what I'll do, let's kind of swing the camera around, look straight into kind of the Aero and talk for a load more features the TXL has to offer. So now we're kind of down the front of the tent, you can appreciate kind of the overall width you see in here. So generally actually from a width point of view, the TXL is a really nice sort of 450 width, so it's a great sort of width you got in here, and actually a very ample depth. And as I mentioned earlier, having that beam increase height wise here really makes it a much more open and sort of actually usable space. That's probably one of the slight criticisms of the old Aero, is that fancily it was quite low and didn't really feel that inviting in the front section. It's not until they make a tweak like that then you think back and go, actually, yeah, that's a real big improvement. We've got webbing storm straps located on the front and back as well to give you extra torsion into the actual tent. But because you've got these, like I said, mentioned, these roof beams all the way through, it works really smartly to get that looking absolutely crisp. Personally, from a colour point of view, I really quite like the colour as well. It definitely lifts it a bit more. Doesn't feel so quite dark and dingy as probably the old Aero did have. But from size-wise, really nice sort of open depth here. For me, naturally, I probably would kind of orientate myself that I would probably put my cooking sort of apparatus more on this side, naturally because the middle door into the living area kind of opens from left to right as you see it. So naturally it kind of creates a little bit of a dead space here if you wanted to. And because of the enclosure which you can buy on with a walk-in at the front, you can have doors on either side. So it doesn't really matter which way you want to come in. So you can chop and change it to a certain degree. Curtains zipped up into the front section, so you have that ultimate amount of privacy you want to. And even though you've got sky windows here which are still tinted, the curtains will zip all the way back to that point as well. Now, one of the things obviously about Zempire and one of the uniqueness is about having ventilation while the weather is still a bit drowsy, should we say. So one thing you can do is actually we can gusset the windows out a little bit, so it pulls it away. Probably a good example of it is looking here. So we can open up the windows like so. So we can still have the privacy element of it, but have airflow coming directly into that. And I'll bring the camera in a second where we can look at that a bit more up close and personal. We've got a hanging point bang in the center of the kind of the canopy area here to sort of allow you to have a lantern hanging point. And as we move into kind of the main sort of living area, we can see Zempire's iconic sort of 360 door. So you can see the door can open up 360, roll back into its own little pocket quite nice and neatly. Of course, you can get it fully zipped up if you really want to. You've got little kind of glow in the dark pullers, which again is a really nice touch detail. So one thing you also got as well is a 360 mesh door. So you can follow the same kind of idea where you can open it from, say, left to right, or fully open if you want to, but that's your second bug barrier, obviously buying if you buy the wall kit itself, and if you don't, that's your main bug barrier. So your main living area here is completely sort of vented, but still hasn't got to worry about the sort of crisp critters coming in. As mentioned, if you want the kind of the main area to flow, then you can open up the whole section quite nice and neatly, and then you haven't got to worry about necessarily rolling it back sort of and tying up. You can quite simply dump it in a nice big pocket down the bottom here and access it when you need it. One slight critique is you have a little bit of a lip in and out of the main section, but for the specification of it, it's the real way you get a really good seal on that front part. Height-wise, certainly I'm about 6'2", can stand up in here quite happily, and due to kind of the nature of the beams they've got, you can't quite get completely to the side, but certainly furniture a bit lower down can get tucked up in the corner there quite easily. There is an optional bedroom you can purchase now, which will go into the main living area. So if you wanted that ability of sleeping 8, you can quite happily do that. I think previously it was included, so it's one thing they've looked to try and just, not everyone necessarily wants it, so for those who want it, you can obviously go to the length of obviously buying it additionally. Still got hanging points for lanterns located here, and even to be fair, in the bedroom section quite easily. So even though we've got a single inflation points, so the air comes directly out, up in the top here, there are isolation taps to keep it all nicely isolated as and when you wanted to. So if you did, God forbid, have an issue, it's then located as a single beam. You can easily repair it or patch it or replace it if need be. And this system is actually one that Zempire have used on their Fortress, their high-end spec, sort of £6,000 upwards tents for a number of years. So it's something they've really, probably for about 7 years now, they've really sort of tested it, so they're very happy with it. So generally, I think if you look in years gone by, this system has had probably flaws with different brands over the years, but evidently Zempire have used it for a long time and somehow have got the recipe just right for certainly longevity. And when you're spending that sort of money on the top end tents, you've got to have real confidence in obviously the specification and what you kind of gear it up to be. So now we sort of move into kind of the main living area. I've always mentioned the 2 mesh doors on the side, so you can alternate depending on which way the weather's coming. One thing is also with the hanging point we've got located here, there's little Velcro tabs which allow you to string the cable for your light quite nice and neatly. And then we've also previously mentioned cable entry point down the bottom this side. And then on the front side here, we've got another one located there, so it doesn't matter which way it's coming in. Bedrooms, we've got a new darker bedroom. It's sort of a nice grey kind of colour, and it features kind of Zempire's ultimate flexible bedroom system. So this then enables you to, rather than it being say a 2, 2 and 2, you can create the kind of sleeping sort of area that you really want to. So if you want it to be a dead split down the middle, sort of 3 and 3, or a 2, 1, 1, 2, you can do that. It's really quite flexible, and we've got a separate video on kind of the multi-bedroom system and shows you how about it. But I think the nice colour works really nicely, and if you look on the outside, which I'll touch in a second, they've used a darker material above the bedroom just to try and reduce the light that gets into the bedroom southeast. So we've got a really nice kind of deep bedrooms. One thing I do quite like as well is you've got a mesh part on the front as well, so you still have airflow directly in. We can see quite nice and deep and dark, and then you've got a zip divider as well to give you that ultimate amount of privacy from one another. We've got little pockets located down there, so you can put things like your keys, your phones, and your torches to quite easily notice where it is. And then you've got cable entry points located at the top, and obviously hanging points for lanterns, so you can get mains actually in the bedroom part itself. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll open a few of these up. I'll pick the camera up, and then we can have a bit of a play and a feel, kind of what it looks like. So you can see there. So this is, if you want 50-50, the dividers on these two ends would sort of open up, or of course you just zip that back, and it's a very clever system we've got. So I mean, it's worth checking out that video that we've done, just explaining that in a bit more detail. So, as we can see, really nice sort of generous canopy. Looks really quite smart, and just look how crisp that roof gets. That's one thing I do really like. As we look into the side panels, you can see there's a decent sort of depth in there, and again also kind of a height. Now this is kind of the system I was referring to, the windows. So you've got the ventilation points you see located there, so you've still got the airflow and the mesh part into it, but it still gives you the element of privacy. Because there's zip, you can still kind of take it down halfway, give yourself a little bit of sort of obviously vision. So for example, you wanted not the weather to come through the mesh part, you zip it up to this point, so you've still got an air sort of vision through that point, and of course the roof window there. But if you wanted it fully down to increase that breeze coming directly through, that works really nicely. Door on that side, as we mentioned, with that little rain safe canopy, and then when we come to the bedroom, it's like a really nice sort of dark material. I've actually opened up the very back fence up completely just to show you how breeze you can get it. But from a darkness point of view, you see kind of the difference between outside and inside. I mean, the camera adjusts quite a bit, but that's a bit more of an idea about that. And there's storage pockets that I've sort of mentioned as well. And there's a pocket down here so that you can roll the bedroom directly back in. And you've got zipped dividers, so they roll really nice and neatly back. But then I think it works really nicely. So there you go. So that's the darkness of the bedroom when it's outside of it. So, and then you also got this nice little bit of mesh located at the front here again to increase airflow. That's the kind of taps, so you can again isolate it quite nice and neatly. It's stuff like, for example, Dometic and Camper have done on their awnings for a number of years now, so it's quite a while tried and tested feature. And the cable entry points we've got located down here. But so what we'll do, let's have a little roam around the outside of it. So as we kind of look on the side profile, you can see how well it sits and looks. And I think actually the new colours look absolutely spot on. I think it just pitches really nicely and just sits so sharp. We've also got the low ventilation points by the side of the bedrooms, as you can see here. Then we've got the same at the back. So we've got two either side of the bedrooms, and then the really big vent directly in the centre. There's also one at the top. You can see obviously the high visibility guide points. And I'll show you those little exit points. So we've got a single inflation point, which is the same kind of Boston valve located there. And then these little outlet points, every single point, to obviously get the extra air out as and when you see fit. So I think all in all, really quite impressive. It is a model we looked to have at our indoor display showroom. Naturally, what you do find, I think, when you look at high-end polyesters, because, like I said, it sits almost above a lot of the other brands in terms of specification. I think this actually, from a value point of view, is actually quite good value. Albeit we're looking, sort of the mid, lower 2,000 points, but I think for what you get in comparison to the marketplace about other things, I think generally it works really nicely. And I think really the added features, the single point inflation, the classic kind of detail that Zempire do offer, the longer warranty as well. So they'll offer a longer warranty than any other brand out there in the marketplace, which again is almost a testament to kind of their specification and kind of the quality that they know they have in the product. They can offer a longer warranty than most other brands. So all in all, I think I genuinely really like this. I think it's for the person who doesn't want to compromise on anything, for sure, who wants that ultimate amount of specification to a certain degree in respect of price. But I think it's a big step forward in comparison to the old Aero. So even from an upgrading point of view, from your current Aero to this, I think you'd benefit from an awful lot more and a lot more versatility, be it even just the darker bedrooms. But single inflation point, there's a lot going on here, and it's quite quite exciting to see something fresh and new in this kind of top end collection. But by all means, let us know what you think as well. It's always great to hear from you. We always appreciate thoughts and comments you have on the products. If you have any more questions or queries, of course, you're welcome to follow a link below this video. It'll take you straight through to the website where we have all the specifications listed, the weights, pack sizes, floor diagrams, individual features, so you can obviously pick and choose and compare and contrast it against other models that you may be possibly considering. But all in all, I think some of the new additions they've done to the Aero TXL is really, really nice. And have a look at the other ranges that we've done videos on as well, i.e. the smaller TL version, which I think is a bit of a head turner. Just from a size point of view, I think it sits really quite nicely. And of course the polycotton versions of these as well. But I'll stop rambling on. By all means, like I said, thank you ever so much for watching. Hopefully it's been helpful, and hopefully we shall see you again soon in our next Attwoolls video. But this has been our video review on the brand new Zempire Aero Pro TXL V2.